Hello. My thoughts on the Star Wars Visions. I watched both Star Wars Visions, the first one and the latest one. So before talking about them, I'd like to say a word about Star Wars itself. I think it is a trash series. I think it should have died long time ago with the first trilogy. And I think that the only reason that it still exists is mainly because of millennials in the boomers mainly carrying toward their nostalgia. That is the only reason that I think that franchise is still going. They don't do anything that's creative. They don't do anything that's inventive with their series because at least if you looked at the oldest installments of those trilogies specifically, you will see that there were a lot of things that they kind of were the first to do it, at least in the West, and do it semi good. But with the recent movies and installments that they have in the IP, all of them were quite trash. These animes are the same because all what they are an excuse to say that we have anime franchises, which is something regarding multimedia. So we have Star Wars in terms of movies, we have TV animations, Western ones specifically, we have games, we have merchandises, whatever type of merchandise you can ask for, and we have anime now. They don't have any good anime, but what they have is these two anime seasons which are composed for a bunch of shorts. Now, the reason why I don't like these animes, even though that the quality of some of the shorts is insane, but what these are basically pilots. These pilots are not something that you're supposed to see. These are like the viz devs, they're like the concept art, they are like the initial conceptualization and brainstorming for what ideas or where to take this project to. They're not something that the masses should see. This is something like the pilots that you see leaked or that you hear about in what they had in them in terms of the earliest version of the plot, earliest version of character design and motivation and so on. For example, you might have a character that later on in the series that was released to the public, a character might be split into two people and each one of them carries a motif, a philosophy, an ideology, a design, and so on. Those two things were before both merged into one character, but because they saw that one character was too much and too little at the same time, because they could not explore both of the topics or the philosophies or this point of view on the world in one character, so they decided to split them in the final release and so on. This is just one example. So that is why I hate these shorts, because we could at least get an anime, a full-on anime, even with short episodes as the ones that they have here. If they're just 15 minutes, 6 episodes, and they keep them like OVAs or ONAs, most of them are trash. You can find some of them that have a full story, but a lot of them, they're either something for the directors or the animators to kind of stretch a little bit. And I'm talking about stretching, it's like being compressed into a cage and you just get out of it, so you gotta stretch a bit. That is what we see here with a lot of these animations. They're just experimental. They are good in terms of how experimental they are, but they are just experimental in an animation side of things. But this is an anime, so animation is just 50% of it or 25%, because the other 25 is or more is for the audio, and the other percentage of whatever left is for the story, which are non-existent in these shorts, or what there is not sufficient or fulfilling. So the only thing that is good about them again is that the multi-art style approach to them, and the fact that they have a lot of good art styles in here. I especially like this one that we saw in the first one and we saw in the second. I still haven't finished the second fully, but I just took a glimpse at a lot of them and saw the major art style that they have featured. But this one I saw to be great, to be perfect for an anime. It got nice colors, it got a nice art style in terms of post-processing, the way that these characters' hair, for example, have the outline being a different color, how the line art itself, it doesn't seem to be pure black, it kind of got a tint of blue to it and so on, with like few things here and then, including the style of the background being a bit simplistic, because this is anime. I don't really necessarily need to have photorealistic backgrounds or use 3D for the background. Even 3D is kind of cool if you know how to use it, but I don't like it necessarily in anime. So when I see something like this with like an impressionist art style or impressionist depiction for the background and for the elements of it, I really like that because it seems like the art style as a whole is coherent, and this is something that I truly would watch a season of if they made a whole anime out of this. But the problem is how would they work the story? Because even though that I have not watched Star Wars, but I kind of am interested in it, especially when it comes to the production side of things. From side of the story, it is as boring as it can get, and I'm sorry for any fans. I am not trying to just rage bait you or anything. It's just from my perspective, I see it as boring. But if they want to expand on it, they could. Again, I know that I'm saying a lot of buts, but they don't have anything that is related to Star Wars. All of these could have been shorts with like some sci-fi elements added to them without having the Star Wars element in there. They could have been like standalone without any relation to Star Wars, and you won't even think about that relation between them. That is their major glaring problem, if I have to say so. If it wasn't for like the cameo of some elements that are known in the zeitgeist of Star Wars, I don't think anyone would have the slightest idea that this is supposed to be Star Wars related. So that is the major problem that I have. I think these animations or these shorts is worth the watch if you are a huge animation fan, not necessarily just anime, because they experiment a lot with animation and animation styles. I think that they are just pilots that they weren't supposed to be released to the public. Instead, they should have just grabbed one of these shorts and tried to make an anime out of it, because I see that more than the art style that I showed that I really liked, a lot of the others really would make for great animes, and I would love to see an anime made out of those. So that's about it. Leave your thoughts below, and as always, make sure to have yourselves a damn good one.